Well, students, we're gonna glaze these Tiki mugs, and they're gonna be a variety of colors that I show you. This one is black. The first thing that I would like you to do, hold your brush like a pencil. We're not gonna get glaze on the bottom, so I'd like you just to outline the bottom here and just make sure that getting close to the bottom. If you do get a little bit on the bottom, we can wipe it off, but I would like you to be careful not to get a bunch on the bottom so it doesn't stick to the kiln shelf. Now, once you've glazed around here, I would switch to doing the inside just so that I can hold it, and you're gonna have to like lean it a little bit to get it to go all the way to the bottom of your mug. So get a little extra on your brush, and you can see how my fingers are at the very end of the brush here. So then I can reach all the way down to the bottom. You might need to take a little bit of extra and just kind of drip it in there. Sometimes you gotta turn it, kind of use gravity a little bit. I wouldn't go around and around and around, that will tangle up the brush. So here, I'm gonna get all the way to the bottom, and then once I glaze all the way to the bottom, then I'm gonna use my brush and I'm gonna glaze just up to get it to go all the way along the inside. Now, we wanna let it dry between coats, so that's also why I'm glazing the inside to let that dry. Once that's dry, then I'll be able to put my second coat on. All these glazes are pretty thick. Typically, we would put them on 3 times, but because this mug is big and the glaze is thick, 2 times should do it. So I glaze the whole inside. I can glaze around the rim here, and then I'm gonna glaze the front of my mug. Now, if you can't get the glaze to go into a spot, use a little bit of extra and kind of drip it into those designs. So here, just using extra, and just kind of brush out the drip. Now, once I glaze the front, I'm holding it in spots where it doesn't have glaze because I don't want to get my hands full of glaze. Now, turn it upside down, get under these spots too. So majority of the time you're glazing, you're gonna be holding it in your hand. If there's any orange spots where the clay is showing, glaze it, drip it in there. So here, work my way around, get it into those designs, get it right into this design too. And then, once I glaze that, we'll do the other side. The inside is pretty dry, so if you need to set your brush down, wipe it off, set your brush on the table. The inside's pretty dry now, so I can put my fingers on the inside and hold it, and that makes it so I can just turn my wrist, and it makes it easy to rotate it without getting a whole bunch of glaze all over my hands. The back of my mug is much faster to glaze than the front because there's all these designs and all the features of the face. Now, I'm gonna turn it. We'll glaze this side too. Once you have it all on there once, then I want you to glaze it twice after it dries. So part of doing a good job glazing sometimes is being patient just to let it dry. The inside is already dry, so I can move right to doing that. I am gonna stand it up here. I'm gonna be careful not to tip it over. I'm gonna glaze this, and since the inside, I dripped it in there and got a good coat in there, I can just get my brush right at the end and just kind of glaze right up along these edges. And then any that drips down to the bottom will kind of coat the bottom of my mug. I am gonna kind of tip it so you can kind of see in there. So kind of use your brush to go from the bottom up. Once you've done the inside, so that's 2 times on the inside, the outside will be pretty dry too. And I really shouldn't pick it up because it's still pretty wet, but just in consideration of time of this video to give you enough work time, this would be my second coat. Let it dry longer than I did, please. And then once you have it all on there, then I wanted to show you another cool technique that can make it look a little bit more weathered and can kind of reveal some of your textures a little bit more. Some of the real Tiki mugs that Mrs. Hall has have some of the glaze kind of in the textures, but not all over the whole mug. And so I'm going to show you kind of how to wipe off some of this glaze. I'm going to pick this up and we'll do the back. So here, I'm going to try to pass out as many towels as I can so that you guys can try this technique, and also to wipe off your hands. So almost got this side done. We're going to let it dry a little bit, and make sure that inside has a full coat of glaze. And then I'm gonna set my brush down, never lean it on the cup because it'll spill the cup. If you do get a little bit of glaze on your hands, you can just wipe them off, keep them clean. Now, as this one's drying, I'm gonna show you a little bit of what I already did on this one. This one is a blue glaze, and this one, I had 2 coats on the whole thing, and then I used the towel and I just wiped off the glaze, and the glaze kind of stays down into those textures. And once it goes through the kiln, it looks pretty cool. I'll show you an example tomorrow once I put these through the kiln, or I'll show it to you before you start glazing. But this one, it really should be more dry, but I'm gonna move to this to make the example go faster. So one of the parts of the towel is gonna be a little more wet. You can start wiping the glaze off and then get kind of another clean spot. And you can see that it reveals some of those textures and details underneath. And then let that dry a little bit, move to another spot. And you don't have to wipe all the glaze off. Just certain parts where you want them to kind of show those designs, show those textures. And now this is pretty dirty, so you want to move to another clean spot of the towel. And that's why I'm going to try to pass out as many towels as I can. So I want that nose design to kind of show up a little bit more. Continue to kind of turn the towel. And it wouldn't be a bad idea to move the cup, move your brushes too. So then you don't tip the cup over, because like the bottom of the towel is just about to touch the cup. So I think this is kind of a cool technique. It makes it look a little more weathered. Reveals a little more texture and design. But the towel starts to get pretty dirty. So you want to just continue to find a clean spot. Just like I said, the back goes a little faster. Because there aren't as many designs here. So wipe this off. I'll let that dry a little bit so I can see what that looks like. We'll move here to the back. Reveal some of those textures and designs. And while you're at it, you can wipe off the bottom, make sure the bottom of your mug is clean too. Turn it around. Get this side too. But the towel won't reach down into the textures and the designs. And so those will definitely show through. It'll be pretty cool. So I'm gonna do a little more work on this after this video example, but after you kind of let it dry a little bit, then you can kind of come back, see what kind of is showing, what stuff you wanna kind of clear out a little bit more. And it's up to you on how much you wanna take off. And I think it'll look really fun and cool when it's done. So I'll stop now. Wouldn't be a bad idea to check the bottom. Make sure the bottom of your mug is clean. Obviously use a clean part of the towel. I just kind of smeared it. So just make sure the bottom of the mug is clean, and we'll be able to finish up all the glazing and stuff today. So let's have fun working on these.